Today, we're jumping into a huge corporate rivalry that's literally painting the future of India's homes. We're talking about the market leader, Asian Paints, going head-to-head with the ambitious challenger, Berger Paints. So, who's actually winning this colorful competition? Well, let's break it all down.
So here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll look at the massive, multi-billion-dollar prize they're both fighting for. Then, we'll introduce the reigning champ and the up-and-coming challenger. After that, we'll throw them into a numbers showdown. And then, this is the important part, we'll dig into the real secret weapon in this battle, margins. And finally, we'll peek into what the future might hold.
Okay, first things first, let's set the stage, because to really get a handle on this rivalry, you have to understand just how enormous the prize is that they're fighting over.
And that brings us to the big question, right? Just how much money are we talking about here? I mean, what do you think India's paint market is going to be worth in just the next couple of years?
$10 billion. That's right, the Indian paint market is set to hit $10 billion by 2025. That is a huge pie for these two companies to be fighting over. And believe me, that's just the start.
I mean, just look at this growth curve. The market's expected to blow past $16 billion by 2030. It's growing at a really strong 9% every single year on average. Now, when a market is expanding that fast, the fight for every little piece of it becomes absolutely cutthroat.
All right, first up, let's talk about the reigning champion, the company that's been a household name in India for decades.
You know them, Asian Paints. They are the undisputed king. They've been around since 1942. So it's not just that they're a big player, they are India's largest paint company, period. And they built their entire empire by dominating the fancy stuff, the premium and decorative paints, which helped them create this incredibly powerful and trusted brand. But you know how it goes? Every champ has a challenger nipping at their heels. So let's meet the company stepping into the ring against this giant.
And here they are, Berger Paints, the ambitious contender. Their whole strategy is about being fast and aggressive. They're all in on innovation, and they're pushing hard to expand their distribution network, basically trying to muscle their way into the competition's turf.
Okay, so we've met our two fighters. Now it's time for the main event, a direct, no-holds-barred comparison of their latest quarterly results. Let's see what the numbers are telling us.
Wow. Okay, this table tells a fascinating story. Right off the bat, you can see Asian Paints is way bigger in terms of sales. But the real drama is in the growth numbers. Asian Paints grew its sales by a solid 6%, while Berger, well, they barely budged at 1.9%. But here's the knockout punch. Profit. Asian Paints saw its profits soar by 20%, while Berger's profits actually dropped by 24%. It's like they're living in two totally different realities.
So why the huge sales gap? Well, Asian Paints' growth was driven by a massive 11% increase in sheer volume. They just sold a lot more paint. Berger, on the other hand, kind of got stuck. They were up against things like a heavy monsoon season and just really fierce competition, which slowed their sales down to a crawl.
And this is where the story gets really dramatic. Just look at these two bars. They are heading in completely opposite directions. You've got a 20% surge for the leader and a 24% nosedive for the challenger. How on earth does that happen? Well, the answer, it's all about the margins.
So, to really understand that massive profit gap, we have to look past the sales figures and dive deep into the crucial game of margins. This, right here, is where the real battle was won and lost.
Okay, so here's the key. Raw material prices started to fall, and Asian Paints played it smart. They took advantage of that, and it boosted their operating margins. That's the profit they make from each sale. But Berger Paints, they got squeezed. Their margins actually shrank from 16% down to 12% because they were forced to spend a ton more on marketing just to compete, all while juggling higher costs.
And here's exactly why Berger was so much more exposed. For Asian Paints, raw materials make up about 55 to 60% of their total costs. But for Berger, it's a huge 70%. Now, that difference often comes down to pure size and efficiency. A giant like Asian Paints can negotiate better prices, and that gives them a built-in advantage. So for Berger, this heavy reliance means that any little price swing in the market hits their bottom line much, much harder.
Now, of course, both companies are sailing in the same stormy seas. You know, crazy swings in the price of crude oil, which is a key ingredient, and unpredictable foreign exchange rates, those things can squeeze everybody. The real difference is who's got the bigger, stronger ship to weather that storm.
All right, so let's pull back for a second. After digging into the market, the players, and all those numbers, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway from this quarterly face-off?
You know, it really boils down to this. Asian Paints showed some real, noticeable improvement. They navigated the tricky market conditions like a pro and came out stronger. Berger, on the other hand, was feeling the heat and was basically forced to sacrifice its own profitability just to stay in the game.
So what's the final verdict? Well, for this round, the leader definitely strengthened its position. But in a market that's growing this fast, the whole picture could change in a flash. And that leaves us with the big question. Will Asian Paints keep dominating like this, or can Berger cook up a new strategy to completely repaint this rivalry? That, my friends, is the multi-billion-dollar question we'll all be watching.